Hey, what's good, y'all? Mr. Cruz here, littest teacher you never had. Today I got a tutorial video for you guys on hi-hat patterns. This is how I use and do my hi-hat patterns in Reason, and I use Redrum. Being that this is going to be my first tutorial video, definitely encourage and I would love it if you guys would not just do the whole typical like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff, but if you do comment, whether you comment below or you shoot me a DM on any of the social media platforms that I'm on, let me know what you guys think. I honestly want your critique. I want your honest criticism, like what could be better, what could be worse, what could I leave out, and stuff like that. Outside of that, man, I hope you guys enjoy. I got a couple more ideas for some more videos that I want to put out for you guys, just to kind of show you guys my tips, my little hacks that I've been using to make music for several years. Because what I find is that there's a severe lack of good Reason tutorial videos out there for Reason users, and being that I got the gems, I want to give y'all the gems. You know what I'm saying? All right. But hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let me know what you guys think. All right. Mr. Cruz, out. What's good, y'all? I want to show you guys today how I do my hi-hat patterns in Reason using Redrum. Redrum is what I use predominantly most of the time when I'm doing drums. The only ever time I use, I know we have Kong, the Kong drum designer. I use that not as often as I use Redrum. Still use it, but Redrum is usually my go-to. So what I have set up here is I have just a pretty simple generic kick pattern. So let's take a listen to it right now. All right, there are no hi-hats in it yet, but we're gonna add some hi-hats in it, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do my hi-hats, which is kind of like the trap hi-hats, the rolling triplets and all that stuff. It doesn't only apply to those; it applies to however you do hi-hats. This is kind of what I found for me and my workflow to be simplest and easiest. So for starters, this is my production template. In my production template, I have a Redrum already set with a couple of sounds here, but most importantly, I have my hi-hat. All right, and I usually have it all the way at the end because my hi-hat pattern, these banks right here, I have it set to my hi-hat patterns, which are as follows. All right. So this is the only in my template. Module 10 or slot 10 is the only one that has a pattern set to it because I don't want to mess up with the other patterns. I don't want to add any other stuff to those pattern banks because if I do, then when I go to add the patterns for my hi-hats, it's going to sound off, if I hit the snare or kick pattern and all that stuff. Just a real big, overly complicated way of saying like, hi-hats is the only thing that I have automated to my pattern bank. So that being said, what we want to make sure we have is enable pattern selection or section, and we have patterns enabled. All right, so with that, what I'm going to do first is I have a note lane here, but I'm not going to use my note lane just yet. I am going to create a pattern loop lane. The way this works is each of these banks here, and I'm only using the ones in A. I haven't used B, C, or D or any of them. But each of these banks here is set to a different resolution of my hi-hats. So if I go to bank 1, that's set to 1/16. So watch when I select bank 2, it's going to move my resolution. Bam. So now it's 1/16 triplets. Then it's 1/32. And then it's 1/64th. And then over here, the bottom ones are usually the ones that are going to be occupying over here on this side. So when I go to 5, it's going to jump to 1/4, 1/8, and then 1/8 triplet. There's nothing on 8. I usually leave 8 empty in case I kind of want to have a silent part. But you can always just kind of not, just chop the pattern note or the automation pattern lane to kind of have that silence in there. And if you notice, I didn't use any half because that's kind of so slow. You may as well just draw it in, or it's not a speed or resolution that I ever use. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna zoom in first, and we're gonna go ahead and start. So I'm gonna just let this play as it is, and then I'm kind of gonna add a different pattern bank selection down here. I'm gonna set this to 1/8. Yeah, that seems good. And I'm going to start selecting and inputting different pattern banks from my different patterns from my pattern bank. All right, so let's go ahead and get it. So all right, so that was too fast. So I know it doesn't get slower until 4 or 5. So let's go with 7. What's 7? All right, let's go to 6. Dang, this hi-hat sounds like trash. Let's turn it down some. So let's have right, so let's see, go back again. Yeah, all right. So we got that going so far. All right. Let's delete this one. And let's stretch. So now when I stretch this, it's gonna like if any of you are familiar with like Photoshop or editing videos, like you have layers. So if you notice that this one in the back, it's behind A2. So A6 is behind A2, which means that once it finishes playing A6, because A2 is in front, it's going to play A2 and then it's going to jump back to A6. So hence that's why I have it, extended behind it here. So let's go. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go. Let's see. 7. Then let's have a faster one. That would be like 3. Let's try 3. Send this a little bit further. Ooh, that sounded bad. Let's try 6. I meant to copy that. Whoa. Let's bring A6 back. And let's finish it. Ooh, okay. I like that there. All right, so there we go. I'm turning this down some more. So obviously, like I'm not going for a mix or anything here. What I'm going for is just to show you guys how you can kind of use a template here to easily and quickly make your hi-hat patterns. So here's the last thing that I do here is what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click over here on our track section or on around our track name, and I'm going to go to convert pattern automation to notes. When I do that, it's automatically going to mute my pattern, so my pattern's not going to play back, and then I have my new lane with my hi-hats. And just drag that down and boom, and now I'm done. Now I've got my hi-hat. Now I've got my hi-hat as a note lane that I can kind of freely move around and not kind of move, my pattern bank around and kind of, risk the chance of like messing it up and offsetting some of the stuff here. So there you guys go. That's how I do my hi-hat patterns. Hopefully it's something that's helpful and useful for you guys. I will leave a copy of the patch that I use. You won't have the sounds, but you'll at least know that when you drop a hi-hat pattern or when you drop a hi-hat sample into module 10, that your bank is already going to be set, and then hopefully it's something that can help streamline your flow and your process. All right, Mr. Cruz out.